fixez.com bringing you a repair video today, working on the Asus Memo Pad FHD10. In today's video, we're going to show you the steps necessary to remove and replace your Memo Pad's display assembly. Before we get started with our disassemble, let's review our suggested tools. Anti-static wrist strap, fine-tipped curved tweezers, plastic opening tools, plastic triangle opening tools, precision knife set, small Phillips screwdriver, a spudger, a heat gun or a blow dryer. Let's first start our disassemble by removing the SIM card from our Memo Pad. A SIM card removal tool or a paper clip will push the tray out of its location. Traditionally, we'll ask you to power down the unit before getting started with your disassemble. In our case, you'll notice that our display assembly is cracked and that our touchscreen no longer functions, so we couldn't power the unit down at this point. Let's begin our entry here with our precision knife kit, getting into the tight gap between our rear cover and the rest of our Memo Pad, starting that gap and then continuing next with our plastic opening tool and working ourselves around the entire perimeter until the rear cover is removed from the Memo Pad. With the rear cover removed, one here in our corner has a locking socket under this tab. We're going to flip the locking socket up in a 90-degree fashion and then remove the cable from the housing. The one right next to it also has a small amount of adhesive across the top. We can go ahead and peel that up. Again, unlock the socket and then draw out the ribbon cable. We have a small ribbon cable here in the corner with a similar locking socket. This is for the power button. Here's the unlock. And draw out the ribbon cable yet again. This plug here is for our speaker. It's a simple push plug situation into a socket that we can draw out. Here's the ribbon cable for our volume rocker. Has a similar locking socket to our power button. Let's go ahead and flip that up and remove the ribbon cable. Here's our second speaker for our tablet. Very similar plug to the other side. Let's just go ahead and pull that out of its socket. Our rear-facing camera has a pop connection here into the motherboard. We can get under with our spudger and lift it up. Small amount of tape holding that camera in place. We can go ahead and peel that up and remove the rear-facing camera from the unit. We have 7 exposed Phillips screws that we can go ahead and remove so that we can work towards removing our motherboard. And now we have a final 8th screw that's located under this big portion of tape that we go ahead and peel back. Let's remove that Phillips screw here. With our connections released, and our securing screws removed for our motherboard, it should now be free to lift from the ASUS. Let's come over here off to the side to this small board that's secured with 3 Phillips screws that we can remove now. We want to remove this board as well as the battery assembly as one complete unit. Peeling up this large portion of tape is going to reveal a few things. First and foremost, it's going to be our display assembly connections that's located here in the 2 locking sockets. Let's unlock those sockets and draw back the ribbon cables for our display assembly connection. Peeling away the tape, securing the ribbon cable down is going to show us our locking socket here for the LCD connection. Let's go ahead and unlock that socket and pull the ribbon cable from there. We also have one of the mounting screws here for our battery tray. We can remove that here with our screwdriver. Our assembly is almost completely ready to come out. We do have one last Phillips screw over on the other side of the unit. With all of our connections removed and our securing screws out, the battery tray as well as the small motherboard on the side can now be lifted from the ASUS. So to now begin the process of removing the display assembly from the surrounding framework, we're going to use a heat gun or a blow dryer and apply about 1 to 2 minutes of heat to the surrounding adhesive in hopes of heating it up and making it more pliable so that it's easier to remove the display assembly from that framework. We used our precision knife kit here to begin our separation. Once you've created a small gap here that you can fit the plastic opening tool in, you can utilize the plastic opening tool to continue that separation and work the adhesive up from the surrounding framework. Do not rush this process as there is quite a bit of adhesive securing the display assembly in place. You'll notice once we worked up one side of the display assembly, we used a spudger between it and the framework to keep the adhesive from coming back in touch with itself. As you work yourself around the entire perimeter, you want to continue to reapply heat as needed. Softening up the adhesive certainly makes it easier to pry the display apart. Additionally to reapplying heat, you want to use triangle opening tools in your path as to keep the adhesive from coming back in touch with itself as you continue to work around the entire memo pad. This is a timely as well as tedious process, but absolutely necessary if you wanted to maintain the integrity of your LCD. Like in our case, you'll notice our touchscreen is the only part that needs replacing. We still need to maintain our LCD for our reassembly. So make sure to use the proper tools, a little bit of patience, and absolutely the reapplication of heat. and it's just a matter of time before you separate the display assembly from your framework. With our display assembly finally removed from the framework of our ASUS, we now have to concentrate on the removal of the LCD from the backside of our touchscreen. We used our heat gun or a blow dryer and applied a small amount of heat to the outside perimeter of the LCD. And then with our precision knife kit, gently cut along the edge of the LCD, breaking the adhesive free from the touchscreen. We used our spudger to help us along to keep the gaps separated while we worked ourselves around the entire perimeter of the LCD. Be careful not to pull or bend your LCD too far, as you might crack it and cause irreversible damage. If your replacement part comes with pre-installed adhesive, we can now start our reassembly. If you do not have pre-installed adhesive, fixez does send out free adhesive strips with all of its replacement parts. You're going to take the adhesive strips and a razor blade or a pair of scissors and cut it to size or shape and apply it accordingly before installing your replacement part. Here's a shot of our framework with the fixez.com adhesive strips applied. We can now remove the covers for our adhesive strips and we use the heat gun to soften up the adhesive for the application of our display assembly. Before laying down our new touchscreen, we want to be sure to put the LCD in place first. Now we can line up our touchscreen accordingly, fish our ribbon cable through, and begin applying the touchscreen in one corner, and then working yourself around the perimeter of the entire tablet. Once your new touchscreen is flush with the framework, we can now begin the reinstallation of our internal components, starting with the battery assembly. Touching it down into the center of the tablet. Let's get started with the first of many connections here with our LCD into the locking socket and then pushing the tab down accordingly. Let's put in the 3 Phillips screws securing the side motherboard here. Here's the 2 connections for our display assembly. Let's get them into their sockets and lock down their 2 tabs. Reapply this big portion of tape over our connections. Before reinstalling our motherboard, let's make sure that we didn't misplace this grommet here. Reinstall it appropriately before dropping the motherboard back down into the ASUS. Put in our 8 securing Phillips screws, starting with the one that's hidden here under the tape. Let's get started working our connections. First with our speaker plug into its housing here. Our ribbon cable into its locking socket. Next is the LCD ribbon cable into its socket and locked down accordingly. And don't forget to plug in our second speaker right here. How about our ribbon cable here for the power button into its locking socket? Over to the other side of our motherboard, here's the ribbon cable for our volume buttons. Bring our rear-facing camera back in. Snug into its housing. Push down on that pop connector. Our last connection is going to be here for the battery. Let's slide that in and finish it up. When reinstalling the rear cover, when you're working yourself around the entire perimeter, press evenly and firmly, making sure you snap all clips in tightly. With that rear cover secured, we can now reinstall our SIM card tray into the side of the tablet and then power it on to check for full functionality. There you have it. Another successful repair by fixez.com. All of the parts and tools you've seen today in this video are available at www.fixez.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook.